It's been shown that coffee has a lot of mold. There was a study done that tested 40 different types of coffee brands, and it showed that 15 of them contained this specific type of mold species. So there's a lot of different ways that mold can grow on coffee, which is why it's very common, and which is why the first thing I recommend looking for is... Welcome back to episode 5 of the Clean Kitchen podcast. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Kevin.
And Kevin, it was funny. I was at the store the other day and I had someone come up to me and they said, Kyle, it is so nice that you're putting out all of this content, especially this new podcast, all for free. But little do they know, there's something called the Clean Kitchen Agreement.
And what is that?
Have you heard of this?
I've not heard of it.
So if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it means that you have to leave us a review, leave us a 5-star review. This is how we reach more people. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Also, we have new episodes live every Wednesday, 10 a.m. So hit that notification bell as well so you get notified when we release a new episode. So that's the Clean Kitchen Agreement.
I love it. We put in all this work for you, for the people.
For the people.
And this is all we ask.
Exactly.
The Clean Kitchen Agreement.
But let's get into today's episode. Kevin, what are we talking about?
Today we're talking about something that people are very passionate about, coffee. And we'll talk about coffee creamers too, because that plays a big role in people's coffee experience. Coffee can be good for you.
Yes.
If you follow the right steps, and we'll kind of walk through how you can do that and how you can have the best experience with coffee. We'll talk about the science of coffee, why do people drink it, which is important to know for some background. Talk about some health benefits of coffee that maybe some people don't know about. We'll also talk about what to look for in different coffee beans. When should you have your coffee? Right away in the morning?
Very important, yeah.
That's a huge factor into this. And then we'll break down coffee creamers. What are coffee creamers? What should you look for? What should you avoid in your coffee creamers?
Most of them. Hint, hint, most of them.
And we'll tell you why and what is in those coffee creamers. And then we got a game, of course.
Of course, we got to end with the game.
A
I love
little
this
this or that.
podcast. I love these games.
We always have our game. A little this or that. And then we'll end with actually the go-to drink at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, what you prefer to order.
I love that. Also, right. I wanted to quickly mention too, before we do get started, if you're not already following us on Instagram, check us out, Clean Kitchen Podcast, and message us. Either just type it out or leave us a voice memo of a question you have. We're going to be doing listener questions very soon. So if you want to hear your voice on the podcast, record a message, send it to us, and we will get to that probably within the next episode or two.
So we're going to start with the science of coffee. Why do people drink it? I want to ask you first, Kyle.
Yeah.
Do you drink coffee?
I do right now.
Yeah?
I've said this previously, but I kind of go back and forth between coffee and matcha.
Yeah.
But yes, I do drink coffee.
And why do you drink coffee?
I used to think it was to wake me up.
Yeah.
But I can't say like I feel a big jolt of energy when I consume it. I honestly just like drinking something warm and tasty first thing in the morning.
Yep.
So it's more like, I'd say it's, for me, it's more like comforting than actually like I need this to wake me up.
Yes. I think that's a great answer. And I think that's what most people would answer. In doing some research, what we found as the most common reasons for people to drink coffee, one is always energy alertness. There's this idea that I need my coffee. I need to get it to wake up. But there's also this ritualistic feeling that people have with their coffee where it's like, oh, I wake up, I get my coffee. It's warm. It's cozy. It's comforting.
Yeah.
And those are some of the common reasons that we'll see. And also taste and smell. I remember when we were kids, we'd always go to Brugger's Bagels right there. And there's the caribou coffee that was connected to it.
Yeah.
And in my head, I never had coffee as a kid. But I had this warm, cozy feeling. I think it was because I loved bagels. That whenever we walked in there, I just felt comforting.
Yeah.
I think it was...
And it smelled good.
Always smelled good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember, I would always love the smell of coffee, whether going to Brugger's.
Yep.
Everything bagel with cream cheese.
Of course.
2. Or in the morning when our mom would make coffee. I would love the smell of coffee.
Yes.
Never really tried it until I was older. But I'm not going to lie, the first time I tried coffee, I was very disappointed because it didn't taste like it smelled.
No, the smell is amazing.
The smell is so good.
Yeah. When did you have coffee first?
I don't even remember ever having it in high school. It must have been college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you getting it to try and stay awake?
Yeah. It was that. I think the first time I tried coffee was studying late night in the library.
Yeah.
It wasn't even I didn't even drink. I only drank coffee in college when I was studying for a test, like late at night. It was never in the morning.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true, and that's horrible.
Yeah.
That's when people have it. But I had the same experience. But I didn't have it either in college. I don't think. But all my friends did. It was late night.
Yeah.
You're cramming for a test, and you have a cup of coffee.
Yeah. I didn't actually start drinking coffee in the morning until I started work.
Yep.
That's when I started drinking coffee in the morning.
It just feels like a natural thing to do.
Yeah, it's a very adult thing.
Yeah.
Everyone else is doing it in the office.
It's like, oh, let's meet for coffee.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. What is this coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is some science behind why it does wake you up. That's not just imagination that people have. It actually does have obviously caffeine, and caffeine is a stimulant that gets you going in the morning, especially. And there are some benefits to that caffeine, namely improving short-term memory and also long-term memory. So it does help you with those things.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's not just all like just wake you up. It actually has some maybe longer-term benefits.
Interesting.
To it as well. And if you have it in the morning, you may feel an increased mood. And that's actually part of the caffeine.
Like a little mood boost?
Exactly.
Like you're a little bit happier or like just in a better mood?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people wake up, they're a little groggy, maybe a little grumpy, and they have their coffee. I think I've seen a ton of shirts. Don't talk to me until I have my first coffee.
Yeah, I've seen like some mugs that say, "Don't talk to me until I've had my first cup of coffee." So I guess there's some truth to that.
There is, there is some definitely some mood enhancement associated with having that first cup of coffee. But there's also some downsides of it. So have you heard of adenosine before?
Yes, we talked about this.
We have. So talk to me about adenosine.
Episode 2, yeah. So there's something called adenosine in our body, and throughout the day, as adenosine builds up, we get more and more tired. But caffeine blocks the adenosine receptor and basically prevents us from feeling fatigued or tired, which is part of the reason why you should try to wait, if you can, an hour, 60 minutes to 90 minutes before you consume that coffee to kind of let your adenosine naturally do its thing, and then consume coffee to really help prevent that afternoon crash.
Yeah, exactly. It's artificially kind of creating this response in your body to wake up rather than letting your body naturally do it.
Yes.
And so I was doing some research on adenosine, and the way that you can think about it is almost as a proxy for fatigue. So fatigue kind of occurs throughout the day. Your body gets fatigued. It goes through stress, whether that's physical stress, mental stress, whatever your day looks like. So throughout the day, your adenosine actually increases. So if you get the right amount of sleep, which we talked about in episode 2, then your adenosine levels are low in the morning. And throughout the day, they'll increase, which is almost like that fatigue increasing throughout the day. And so coffee is artificially making that adenosine, or it's just blocking that adenosine.
Right, it literally like blocks the receptor.
Yes. Okay, so you can't get a good read on what your body's actual fatigue is.
And then when the coffee wears off in the afternoon, we talked about coffee has a half-life of 6 hours, so it's going to stay in your body for a while. When that coffee wears off, then we talked about this last time, but all the adenosine, I guess, is there, which causes that afternoon crash, and it just hits you.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who does have that afternoon crash, experiment with it. Wait 60 to 90 minutes before having that cup of coffee or tea, for that matter, and see how you feel.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people's natural reaction to that afternoon crash is another cup of coffee. Yeah, and so that's no good.
And then you're just on this cycle or loop of get tired, drink coffee, get tired, drink coffee. Yeah, and it's not good.
No, your body needs to do some of the work itself.
Yes.
Naturally. But that's not to say coffee's bad.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. I think another piece of coffee is the amount in which you have. A lot of people can get addicted to that level of caffeine, and they'll build up a tolerance to it.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're not getting the same hit from that first cup as you used to.
Right.
And then you take another cup of coffee, and it takes another cup of coffee to get you going.
Yep.
And so there's an ideal amount of coffee that you should have in the morning. Any idea?
So 1 cup of coffee, I want to say has like 95 milligrams, maybe of caffeine, maybe 100, depending on the type of coffee, I guess. But 1 to 300 milligrams of caffeine. So 1 to 3 cups of coffee, I think is totally fine to have in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what most studies say. Even if you want to hit a sweet spot, like 1 to 200
Gotcha.
I think is what they recommend.
Yeah.
But once you go beyond that, you kind of get into a danger zone of too
Yeah.
much caffeine.
Yeah.
Especially if you're consuming caffeine in other ways throughout the day as well.
Energy
Something to think about.
drinks.
Exactly. Red Bull,
Um,
5 Hour Energy, all those other type of energy drinks
right.
also have caffeine. So make sure you're incorporating that into your number,
Mm-hmm.
not just the cup of coffee.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people like to have energy drinks before the gym, which I think is totally okay as long as you're
Mhm.
having a clean energy drink, but also just be aware of what day or what time of the day you're
Mm.
consuming that as well, because, we talked about how caffeine affects sleep and coffee, but also the same thing goes for those energy drinks.
Yep.
So,
Good point there. But there have been some studies that have shown some benefits to drinking coffee.
mhm.
You want to talk about those at all?
Yeah, I think one of the main benefits of coffee is that it contains a lot of antioxidants.
Mm.
And I was reading something about this, that the average American gets more antioxidants from their morning cup of coffee than the fruits and vegetables that they consume throughout the
No
day.
way.
Yeah. So there are benefits
Yeah.
in coffee. There's also been a few observational studies that show consuming coffee has been associated with a decreased risk of things like type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, and even cancer.
Wow.
But again, these are observational studies, so you can't directly attribute that coffee is doing these things. There could be some other, lifestyle factors that these people are doing that are decreasing their risk of these diseases. But something to note for sure.
Yeah.
It also contains a few different minerals, which I think a lot of people don't know, like magnesium, manganese, some B vitamins, and then, like I mentioned, a lot of antioxidants as well.
Yeah. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that people tend to forget too is that coffee's mostly water. I think it's
Yeah.
99% water.
Yeah. I was shocked when I read that.
Yeah.
It seems like everything is mostly water. What
Yeah.
did we just talk? Oh, milk.
Milk, mostly water.
Yeah.
The plant-based milks.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah,
no,
yeah,
dairy
yeah.
milk.
That's right.
It was like, what was it, like 80 something
87%.
percent?
Yeah.
That shocks me.
Yeah.
That also shocked me that coffee is 99% water.
Yes.
I mean, you hear like, watermelon and what is it? Like cucumbers or other foods like that are mostly water, but I never would have thought coffee was just mostly water.
No. Yeah. It's barely the beans. And I guess as part of that, do the beans that you're using matter when you think about coffee?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few different things I recommend looking for.
Yeah.
When you're at the grocery store or ordering online. And one of the main things is mycotoxin free.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So mycotoxin is basically like different types of mold. And some people that get sick from mold will do mycotoxin tests, and it basically tests a bunch of different species of mold. I've actually had this test done before a few years ago. But anyway, it's been shown that coffee has a lot of mold on it.
Why is that?
Well, I was digging into this, and there was a study done that tested 40 different types of coffee brands, and it showed that 15 of them contained this specific type of mold species called ochratoxin A.
Okay.
which has been shown to not be so good for our liver and kidneys. But the reason that a lot of coffee has mold is because of actually multiple different reasons, because of the way that coffee is grown and then also, I guess, handled throughout the production process. I thought it was just, one point in time throughout the production process where it was susceptible to mold, but it seems like it's throughout the entire process. So most coffee is grown in exotic regions, which are very humid to begin with. So that, again, just creates an environment for mold. But then also, so I didn't realize there's like an outer shell that covers coffee beans. Did you know this? It's like they're covered by something, and you have to basically break it open in order to get the coffee bean.
Yes.
So to break open the outer shell, I guess a lot of water has to be used, and a lot of time the water can get left on the coffee bean itself, which again creates an environment for mold growth. So where it's grown, when you take off the outer shell, it creates an environment for mold to grow, and then also, I guess, how it's not fermented, the word I'm looking for, but how it's not brewed. How coffee is
Roasted.
Yes, roasted. So I guess it's roasted to high temperatures, which again creates an environment for mold.
Yep.
So there's a lot of different ways that mold can grow on coffee, which is
Wow.
why it's very common, and which is why the first thing I recommend looking for is a company that tests for mycotoxins.
So if you find that either on the company website or on the bag of the
Mhm.
coffee beans, that covers all of those factors.
Yes.
Okay.
And normally you can reach out to the company directly and they'll send you a test
Mm.
of all the different species. I think species is the right word
Yeah.
of mold.
Okay.
So you can ensure that, yes, what they're saying is true.
Okay. Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Never thought about the mold on the coffee beans.
Yeah, most people don't.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing I'd recommend looking
Okay.
for.
Mycotoxin free.
Yeah.
And then anything else too when I'm looking at coffee beans
Yeah.
within the grocery store.
A couple of different things that kind of optional, but I like to look for. One of
Mhm.
them being organic.
Mm.
This is kind of a debate. Some people say you don't need to buy organic, while other people say you do.
Mhm.
The argument for you don't have to buy organic is because the coffee bean is covered in those things. So when they're spraying the synthetic pesticides and herbicides on it, they're saying it's not really getting into the coffee bean itself. So
Mhm.
it's okay to buy conventional. I personally buy organic. I buy organic whenever I can. If you have the budget for it, I think you should definitely go for organic. But again, you can kind of go either way there. And then the other thing to look for is single origin.
Okay.
So a lot of coffee stores like Dunkin' Donuts and maybe even Starbucks, they use coffee blends,
Mm.
which similar to olive oil, how you don't want to be buying your olive oil
Oh.
from, 5 to 10 different countries
Mhm.
because you don't know the farming practices and standards that they're using. Same thing goes for coffee. It's ideal to buy single origin coffee. That just increases your chances of a higher quality
Yeah.
bean.
Yep.
Higher coffee beans.
Yep. Okay, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
If I'm looking for organic and mycotoxin free,
Yes.
those two, and then single origin.
Single origin. I say those
three.
are the three things.
Three things.
In
Okay.
in order of importance,
Yep.
I'd probably say mycotoxin free, single origin, and then organic.
And then organic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll leave a few links to a few of my favorite brands.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good brands out there. I have about 4 or 5 that I really like, so I'll leave a link to all those in the show notes as well.
Perfect. I like it.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot on coffee. We talked about the why that people enjoy it. Part of it is a ritual.
Yeah.
That people enjoy in the morning.
Just thinking today, I made my cup of coffee, went outside, sat in the sun.
Yeah.
It's just a nice part of the morning routine.
Yeah. Good vibes.
Yeah, good vibes.
Good vibes. And so then we talked about the actual benefits of coffee. It increases your mood. It helps with short-term and long-term memory.
Yep.
It also gives you that energy boost. That's not just something that people make up. That is a real chemical reaction that's happening in your body. We also talked about some of the benefits in terms of observational studies
Yep.
that we've seen, and then when you should have your coffee. So remember, that's that 90 to 120 minutes after you wake up.
Yes.
If you can. That lets the adenosine wake up in your body. And then the actual quantity of the coffee. 100 to 300 milligrams, maybe 100 to 200.
Yeah.
That's the caffeine level there.
And that's, I guess, 1 to 3 cups.
1 to 3 cups.
And just a note, just for me personally, 1 cup is 8 ounces, correct?
That's right.
So a lot of people, I think, they'll have a mug, like a 16 ounce coffee cup, and they'll think, oh, I can drink 3 of these.
Yes.
But do the math, 16 times 3 is
a lot. 32, 48.
48.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit more. That's
a lot
6.
of it more. Yeah.
That's 6 cups.
Yeah.
So just something to note,
Yep.
when we say 1 to 3 cups of coffee, we mean actual cups.
Yes.
Which is 8 ounces.
8-ounce cups. Standard cups.
Yeah, standard
Yes.
cups. Not a giant coffee mug.
Yes.
Oh, that also reminds me. I was reading about having coffee on an empty stomach first thing in the morning versus with a meal.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's much better to have breakfast first and then drink your coffee. Because I think we may have talked about this earlier in a previous episode. Coffee spikes your cortisol.
Yep.
And it basically sends your body into fight or flight. So by having a meal or at least some food in your stomach first, it slows down that release, and you won't be as stressed out, I guess.
Yeah.
So a lot of people recommend having breakfast with your coffee,
Yeah.
which is something I do not do.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that. So
Yeah.
you've talked before about you have 2 meals typically,
Yeah.
lunch and dinner. So do you normally have coffee or tea on an empty stomach?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have, I mean, I do try to have a glass of water with lemon before I drink my coffee,
Yeah.
but that's not food.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's something that I need to try out as well.
Yeah.
Because normally it's just coffee right in the morning, and then I'll
Yeah.
have lunch
Yeah,
later.
exactly.
But I guess speaking on the water there, I actually was reading that coffee is just naturally dehydrating. Even though it's 99% water,
Yeah.
it naturally dehydrates your body. So it's recommended to have water with your coffee. So it sounds like something that you do.
Yeah, I try. Yeah, because specifically water with lemon is very hydrating to your body.
Yep.
So I do recommend doing that before you do drink your coffee.
Yep.
Because if you're waking up and you drink coffee first thing,
Yeah.
you're already dehydrated when you wake up because you just went hopefully 7 to 9 hours without anything to eat or drink. So your body's dehydrated. So I do recommend drinking some lemon water. Even throw some unrefined sea salt in there
Yeah.
for a little bit more electrolytes and minerals.
Yep.
To help hydrate your body first before you go for that cup of coffee.
Got it.
But there's also, it's interesting you bring that up because do you know Dave Asprey?
No,
Have you ever heard of Bulletproof Coffee?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, so he's the founder of
Oh, yeah.
Bulletproof Coffee. It's a brand, but also it's a way of making your coffee. It's like I believe he recommends either grass-fed butter or ghee in your coffee.
In the coffee.
In the coffee. And that reminds me too, maybe, so I put butter in my coffee, and maybe by putting fat in there,
Oh.
and I don't know for sure on this, but it may slow down the spike
Yep.
of cortisol.
Mhm.
Maybe. I know fat, when you put fat in food, it's when you combine, so if you're going to have carbs or sugar and you combine fat with it, it slows down the spike in blood sugar. So it may do something similar.
Yeah. I bet it does.
With cortisol. I'm editing this podcast episode and want to let you know that Kevin and I were correct in our assumption that putting healthy fats in your coffee like coconut oil, grass-fed butter, or grass-fed ghee does negate the sudden spike in cortisol, also causing blood sugar levels to remain at bay. So it's great for your brain health. It'll leave you feeling clear and energized. And healthy fats are just a fantastic way to start your day. Like I said, it's going to leave you feeling clear, energized, hormonally balanced, and will keep your body in its natural fat-burning state. But he recommends the bulletproof coffee, like the bulletproof way, is ghee, grass-fed ghee or butter in your coffee, about 2 tablespoons, along with some MCT oil, which is similar to coconut oil.
Yep.
It's good for your brain
Yeah.
and memory. But he, anyway, back on track, he recently came out with a different type of coffee called Danger Coffee, and it's coffee beans infused with electrolytes or minerals. So it helps hydrate you. Because his whole thing is, yes, coffee dehydrates you, so let's put some minerals in there to help hydrate you. So you're basically knocking that out with your cup of coffee.
Yeah, offsetting it.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. I bought it, but I haven't used it yet.
I have to test that out.
He sold me.
Yeah. He got you.
Yeah, he got
Real
me.
gin.
Yeah, he got me.
Okay, so then you have your coffee with butter.
Yes.
It sounds like. Do you ever have it with cream?
Normally I put heavy cream in it. Yes.
Heavy cream. That's
Yes.
your go-to.
And that's another fat. So
Yeah.
I think the more fat you can add in, the better.
Yep. Most people, I would guess, don't use a fat, but rather some sort of off-the-shelf creamer from the grocery store or from somewhere else. So let's talk about coffee creamers then.
Okay.
Another popular topic
Yeah.
here. So coffee creamers are actually mostly made from water, sugar, and some sort of vegetable oil
Yes.
off of the shelf,
Yes.
which not good.
Not good.
And most don't have dairy at all, which
Yeah.
I thought was surprising.
Yeah.
Shocked by that.
A lot of the popular brands, like Coffee Mate
Yeah.
and something Delight, International Delight, or
Yeah.
something like that. It's exactly the ingredients you just mentioned. It's water is the first ingredient, then it's sugar, Then it's vegetable oils,
Mhm.
along with a bunch of gums and emulsifiers, which we
Mhm.
talked about in the previous episode, all about plant-based milk and how we want to avoid those. So yeah, most coffee creamers are not very good.
Yeah, most of the ones maybe that you find in your office, those powder
Yeah,
coffee creamers
yeah,
or the little pods that they'll
yeah.
put on a
Yep,
table in a restaurant, stay away from those.
yep. They have those downstairs in my apartment
There you
as
go.
well.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
So okay, so that's what to avoid in coffee creamers. But what should you look for in a coffee creamer?
Yeah, I think, well, I'd say the first thing is be careful with a lot of coffee creamers because a lot of them contain a lot of added sugar. Well, actually, let me take a step back.
Okay.
A lot of them, from the look of the nutrition facts, it looks like it doesn't contain a lot of added sugar because it's only maybe 3 or 4 grams, which isn't too bad as long as you're, keeping it low. It's not bad. But if you look at the serving size on a lot of them,
Mhm.
they're 1 tablespoon.
Uh-huh.
Almost every single one is 1 tablespoon. No one, and I'm saying no one is putting 1 tablespoon of coffee creamer in their coffee.
Yep.
They're putting 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
And
That adds up
6
fast.
times 4 is 24.
There you go. Got some
Quick
quick
math.
math.
CPA, baby. 24 grams of coffee of sugar. So you're starting your morning with 24 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
I think the recommended amount of added sugar for men per day is like 24 or 25 grams, and
Mhm.
woman is like 21 grams of added sugar.
So it's everything.
You're already passing it
Yeah.
first thing in the morning.
Yep.
Not to mention, you're probably drinking that on an empty stomach, which one is going to increase your cortisol, which we just talked about, but it's
Mhm.
also going to spike your blood sugar like crazy.
Yep.
Leave you
Hungry.
feeling more hungry
Yep.
after.
Exactly.
So the first thing I would look at is the amount of added sugar,
Okay.
and pay attention to how much of that creamer you're putting in your coffee.
Yeah. That adds up fast. I
Very
didn't realize
fast.
that
Yeah.
the serving size was
Yeah.
that small.
Yeah, it's 1 tablespoon, and I use heavy cream or half and half in my coffee. I just don't even touch the sugar because
Yeah.
it's dangerous. But I gotta call out Kristen, our sister.
no.
Not call her out, but we did an experiment.
Yeah.
Because I was very curious. I was like, okay, she's a normal average person that she eats healthy, but
Mhm.
she still has she has a better for you coffee creamer, but it still has sugar in it.
Yep.
So I was like, let's experiment. Just pour the amount of coffee creamer that you would normally put in your coffee.
Mhm.
And I think it was about 4 tablespoons.
Wow.
And the one she has is 4 grams per tablespoon. So that's 16 grams of sugar.
Yep.
So not calling you out at all by
Mhm.
any means, but I think most people are putting in a lot
Yeah.
of sugar in their coffee, which is why they like coffee.
Exactly. It's a sugary treat.
It's dessert first thing in the morning.
Yes. Yeah. I'd be very curious for everyone to kind of measure out how much coffee creamer they actually put
Yeah.
in their coffee.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. But there are also I guess, some natural sweeteners, just like you can use
Yes.
natural sweeteners with anything else. So are there some that you maybe recommend including there?
I'd say going back to one of our earlier episodes, raw honey and maple syrup would
Yep.
be 2 of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
I know a lot of other people like to put low calorie or low carb sweeteners in their coffee as well, like stevia, monk fruit, or erythritol.
Mhm.
As long as erythritol doesn't upset your stomach, I think those are good options as well.
Okay. So there are other options out there that you can get
Yes.
to get that same dessert-like flavor
Yeah.
in the morning that doesn't have the same downside.
Yeah. And if you are putting in a lot of, even if it's natural sweeteners in your coffee, I kind of would recommend eating it with something
Mhm.
or having breakfast beforehand, just so it doesn't increase your blood sugar a whole lot.
Yeah.
Especially first thing in the morning. It's just not the best way to start your day.
Yep.
And increasing your blood sugar in and of itself isn't a bad thing, but when you're doing it first thing in the morning and then maybe, a lot throughout the day, it may not be the best.
Okay, so that was a lot of discussion on sugar.
Yes.
But there are a lot of other ingredients in these coffee creamers. What else is a no-go?
Yeah, I think the main things are vegetable oil, which is found in a lot of these. That's your sunflower, canola, soybean oil, rapeseed oil. And then a lot of these gums and emulsifiers. If you see one gum, not the biggest deal, but for me, it's when you see a lot of them, multiple gellan gum, xanthan gum. Carrageenan is one I do recommend avoiding. That's an emulsifier.
Uh-huh.
which has been shown to cause a lot of inflammation in the intestines
Yep.
in studies. So I do recommend avoiding that one, which I believe is in a lot of the popular coffee creamers.
Yep.
But I feel like that's really the main thing: sugar, vegetable oil, gums, and emulsifiers.
Yep.
So that's what I recommend avoiding.
Okay. And as a reminder, in case you missed the last episode, remind people what emulsifiers are.
Yeah. So basically, if you're having a plant-based creamer or even plant-based milk for that matter, it makes it thicker, it thickens it up, and it also prevents anything from separating.
Okay.
So everything is consistent, fluid.
Yeah.
What's the word?
Bonds it together.
Yeah. Homogenized.
Yeah. Okay. So that's some more information there. Sugar, vegetable oils, any sort of oils really that aren't olive oil, avocado oil.
Yeah, which I've never seen a coffee creamer with those oils.
No.
No.
Natural flavors, stay away from.
Yeah, natural flavors. That's another one.
So those are all the things that we should be avoiding in our
Yes.
coffee creamers. What should I be looking for in the coffee creamer?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Most coffee creamers, not so good. The only one that I really like that I would actually consume myself is Laird.
Okay.
They make like a powdered coffee creamer that you just take a scoop, put it in your coffee, and then also they make a liquid one, which only has, I think it has one gum in it. It has coconut sugar as a sweetener, which I like, and it's just very simple ingredients.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing else like that on the market. So that's what I would recommend in terms of a coffee creamer. They actually they changed their ingredients not too long ago. They took out, I think it was coconut oil and something else, which I'm not a fan of, but it's still the best option out there.
Okay.
But my number one recommendation for coffee creamer isn't actually a coffee creamer. It's something like heavy cream, half and half, or if you're dairy free, go for a simple 3-ingredient plant-based milk.
Yep.
Almonds, water, salt.
Yeah.
Oats, water, salt. Coconut, even coconut milk with just coconut and water.
Yep.
So that's what I would recommend. And then if you really want the sweetness, go back and add some of those natural sweeteners that we mentioned.
Okay. So it's almost like a DIY coffee creamer is the best option there.
Yeah,
Okay.
because just avoid all of those additives.
Yeah.
Not how you want to start your day every single day.
Right. That's true. This is an important piece to note is that this is how your body is getting going every morning.
Yeah.
And so you want to wake it up with good habits.
Yes.
So
and just going back to the mycotoxins and the mold, that also just reminds me, like, you're starting your day with this and you're having it every single day. So it is kind of important, in my opinion, to find one without the mold.
Yep.
Because you're putting that in your body every day.
That's right. Yeah, exactly right. Very important to focus on how your body wakes up. So we got a lot of good information there on coffee creamers, with the takeaway being be very careful of the ones that you can get off the grocery store shelves. And the best option is probably to make one yourself with some sort of combination of a simple 3-ingredient milk or non-dairy milk and a sweetener, if you prefer, like a honey or maybe some maple syrup.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So now let's finish with a game.
Yes.
Here. So a lot of people make their coffee at home, but a very popular option is to go out and get your coffee. And Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts are 2 national brands, very popular. And so we want to do a little bit of a game called This or That, where I'll give you 2 products, whether that's food or a coffee drink, from these stores.
Okay.
And then you'll talk me through, if you were in there and you had to pick one of these 2 to order.
Had to pick one.
If you had to pick one.
I don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
Okay. That's fair.
This is for the people.
Yes.
If you had to pick one of these 2, which one would you choose and why?
Okay.
So we're going to start at Starbucks.
Okay.
And it's in the morning. You want something to eat, a little snack, nothing crazy, but you're deciding between a blueberry muffin and a croissant.
Okay.
What's your thought process?
All right. Well, I've got the ingredients pulled up here in front of me, and I will, for those watching on YouTube, I'll go ahead and flash these ingredients up. But for those listening, let's see. We have a blueberry muffin, which has 29 grams of sugar, and the butter croissant has 4 grams of sugar. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm leaning towards the croissant. The blueberry muffin, I see some added soybean oil, canola oil in there, while the croissant actually doesn't have any vegetable oils. Again, that's another point for the croissant. Both using enriched wheat flour, which we know I don't recommend. But if I had to choose one, I would definitely go for the croissant.
The croissant.
Yes.
Okay.
Especially if you're going to Starbucks first thing in the morning. We do not want to start our morning with, 1, a sugar-filled coffee, but 2, 29 grams of sugar from a blueberry muffin.
Yep.
As delicious as that may be.
Yes. Okay. So we're gonna start the day with the butter croissant.
Yes.
That's true because you're probably getting, you might be getting a coffee with sugar-filled creamer, which if you add that to the 29 grams of sugar you're getting from your muffin, adds up fast.
Yeah.
Okay, that's terrifying. Okay, so now we're gonna get a drink.
Okay.
And so for the drink, I'm thinking something like a chai tea latte, which sounds healthy.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm gonna treat myself, a coffee frappuccino. What would you tell me about those two different drinks?
Oh man, frappuccino, that word brings back memories for me. I think the first time I had Starbucks, which probably could it have been probably in high school at some point. I remember we would go to Target.
Yeah.
And there was a Starbucks in the Target, and our sisters would always go and get frappuccinos.
Yes.
And I was like, all right, let me try one. Let me try one of these things. And I get a frappuccino, and I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is what coffee tastes like?
Yeah.
I love coffee.
Yeah.
Little did I know, it probably had like 100 grams of sugar in it.
Yeah. It's just a milkshake.
Yeah, it's basically a milkshake with a little bit of coffee in it. Anyway, that just brought back some memories. Sitting in the Starbucks in Target, sipping on a frappuccino. All right. So the coffee frappuccino has 45 grams of added sugar. The chai tea latte has 42 grams of added sugar.
Wow, not that different.
Pretty similar there. That's a lot of sugar. The chai tea latte actually, it has more ingredients, but a lot of them are coming from the herbs and seasonings used in chai tea, like black pepper, ginger, cinnamon, cloves, a little bit of natural flavors, ginger juice. And the coffee is much simpler, but it does contain xanthan gum, which is one of those gums we mentioned, while the chai tea latte does not. Honestly, I thought at first glance I was going to choose the coffee because it had much simpler ingredients, but after looking into this, I think I might choose the chai tea latte.
Okay.
The xanthan gum, which isn't terrible, but if I can avoid that, I would. And the potassium sorbate, which is a preservative in this specific frappuccino, is a pretty not so good preservative that I recommend avoiding. So the chai tea latte doesn't have either of those things. It's mostly just water, the chai tea itself, and then a little bit of natural flavors.
Okay. So we're starting our morning with a butter croissant and a chai tea latte.
Okay.
Okay. So
if we're doing that, then we're up to 42 grams of sugar with that, and then 46 grams of sugar.
Wow.
With that.
So double the recommendation.
Yeah. And also, this kind of reminds me, if you are looking at these things, maybe see what other sweetener alternatives they have. Ask if they have maple syrup.
That's a good point.
Ask if they have honey. It's probably pasteurized honey. It's probably not raw honey, so I'd probably go for the maple syrup in that case. Or even something like monk fruit, stevia, or erythritol to bring that sugar down.
Yep. Yeah, definitely worth asking those questions.
Yes.
Do some customizations.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. And then last Starbucks-related question, another drink. Would you go for the matcha tea latte or the cafe latte?
I actually think the first time I ever had matcha was from Starbucks. I think I got it because I was like, I don't want coffee. Let me try something else.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was really good, but now I know why. It had 32 grams of cane sugar in it.
Mm-hmm.
So really simple ingredients in the matcha latte. It's just milk and matcha. So I like that. No additives. Does have 32 grams of sugar though. The cafe latte. Ooh, cafe latte is even better. Wait, it says it just signed me out, but I saw it. It said milk and espresso. Okay, yeah, I'm confused. So it says ingredients in the cafe latte: milk, brewed espresso, which is great.
Yep.
But then it says 18 grams of sugar. Oh, I guess. Oh, a latte is. Oh, that makes sense. A latte is espresso with a lot of milk. Right?
Yeah.
That was me asking. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that makes sense. So that's the 18 grams of sugar there is natural sugar.
It's coming from the milk.
Coming from the milk.
The dairy. Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Is that all right though to have that much sugar?
Yeah, I'd say if you're getting whole milk because
Yeah.
then it has protein and fat to
Oh,
go
yeah.
along with it, so it's not just sugar bomb.
Yep.
Yeah, see, 13 grams of protein, 7 grams of fat. So yes,
Wow.
I would.
So between those two, it sounds like you like those two the best of what we've seen so far.
Yeah, these two are definitely the best.
Okay.
It's just so simple ingredients.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, let me take a step back here because I did say that it had 32 grams of sugar, but it looks like about half of that, maybe even a little bit more, is coming from the milk.
Mm.
So I do like these the best because they both contain more milk and it has that protein and fat to go along with it.
Okay.
As opposed to some of now I'm just curious to look at some of the other ones. Like that Frappuccino, for example.
Yep.
Such little protein, such little fat,
Mm.
ton of sugar.
Yep.
So, and obviously this isn't the highest quality milk. It's probably conventional milk.
Yeah.
But I definitely go for the whole milk.
Okay.
Don't go for the skim
Get
milk.
that fat.
Yeah, get that fat. We talked about it a lot
yeah.
in the previous episode, all about milk. If you haven't listened to that, definitely go check that out after you finish this one. But yeah, I like those two options.
Okay. All right. We got some winners there.
Yeah,
Between the two, just you, which one are you choosing?
I'd probably go the cafe latte.
Cafe
Just to
latte.
avoid any more added sugar.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I like that. All right. So that's some Starbucks menu items. Let's pivot to Dunkin' Donuts, another nationwide favorite there.
Mhm.
So we're gonna start actually with some food again. Actually, a food coffee comparison.
Okay.
So I'm at Dunkin'. I want something. I want a little pick me up,
Yeah.
and it's gonna have some sugar. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe a donut or a frozen coffee. Between those two, if I had to choose one,
Oh man.
talk to me.
Oh man, I remember. So I've got the frozen coffee pulled up in front of me now, and if you've been following me for a while on Instagram, it was around Halloween time, I guess fall time last year. I went to Dunkin' Donuts and I got all of their pumpkin spiced flavored drinks.
Yep.
It's like the hot one, the cold one, and then the frozen coffee. And I remember the frozen coffee having a lot of, like, a ridiculous amount of sugar. 142 grams
142
of sugar. 129 of those coming from added
Oh my
cane sugar.
gosh.
Wow. Probably leaning towards the donut after looking at that.
Okay.
We have 38 grams of sugar in the donut, most of that coming from added cane sugar.
Mhm.
Wow, that is a long list of ingredients in a donut. Wow. But there's also a lot of fat in here. 26 grams of fat. Looks like palm oil may be the source of that, which is not my favorite oil. But if I had to choose, I guess I'd go for the donut.
You'd go for the donut.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I can't drink 140 grams
No.
of sugar first thing in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
No, that's like a week's worth of sugar.
Have you ever had one of these frozen coffees?
No, I've never had one.
No. I remember I bought all these coffees
Yeah.
back in the fall, and I took one sip of each.
Yeah.
And it was just straight sugar.
Could you taste just sugar?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because at Dunkin' Donuts, there's like a bunch of I don't know if they do this on purpose, but there's a bunch of like sugar chunks at the bottom. So like every sip, I was just like, I had to chew it because I was like, oh, I gotta chew the sugar.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
gross.
Okay.
And then I poured them all down the sink, and I had a few people get mad at me for that.
Oh.
But
All right, let's just stay away from that then. That frozen coffee.
yeah,
It sounds
stay away.
like. Okay, and then last one, get some food in us here. So we're still at Dunkin', and we're looking at some of the sandwiches. So if you had to go with one between a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich or a turkey sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich,
Mhm.
what would your ordering process look like?
All right. Well, let's look at the bacon, egg, and cheese here. We see enriched wheat flour, soybean oil, pretty long list of ingredients. Not a lot of added sugar. 5 grams of added sugar.
Okay.
Which isn't too bad. Turkey, sausage, egg, and cheese. Very similar ingredients: enriched wheat flour, soybean oil, palm oil. Really long list of ingredients. Wow. 3 grams of added sugar. A little bit less. Honestly, if I was going for these, I'd probably ask if they can do some sort of substitute for the bread
Uh-huh.
and maybe get double serving of the egg and bacon or egg and turkey
Yep.
sausage for that matter. Even the egg, just the egg whites or the egg patty contains soybean oil, cornstarch, natural flavors, xanthan gum, cellulose gum, citric acid. There's just a lot of ingredients in here.
In an egg.
In one, it should just be eggs.
It should be eggs.
This is tough. You really put me in a tough situation here. I don't know if I can choose one of these.
Okay.
The other ones, they had a clear winner.
Yeah.
This one, I don't know if I could choose one. I'd probably say I'd skip the bagel and the English muffin and just get the meat and egg.
Yeah.
Even though it still has a lot of ingredients, that's what I would do.
That's what you do.
Mhm.
Okay. So tough decisions there. But I think maybe the takeaway is that there are so many ingredients in these breakfast sandwiches to be careful of, which is shocking.
Yeah.
Even just the egg.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're just going to end on a good note. Your go-to drink at a coffee shop, whether that's Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, or a local shop.
Yeah. My go-to order,
Yep.
very simple, is black coffee with heavy cream.
Love it.
Or half and half if they don't have heavy cream. A lot of places don't have heavy cream. I don't know why. But yeah, coffee and heavy cream. And if they do have, I was when we were in Wilmington a few months ago, the coffee shop we went to also had grass-fed ghee and MCT oil. So I got that in my coffee as well.
Oh,
so
nice.
if they do have that, I will go ahead and add that in for, a few extra dollars.
Yep. Get the extra fat there from the ghee.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you? What's your go-to
I'm a
order?
big fan of Americanos.
What is that?
It's just espresso, and you can get it with milk, but I like to get it with water. So it's espresso and water.
Interesting.
So
it's similar to a latte then,
It is
right?
similar
because
to a
latte
latte.
is espresso and milk.
yes. So I think Americano can be done with milk, which maybe just makes it a latte.
Yeah.
But most of the time I've seen it just done with water,
Okay.
which
Interesting.
to me is good. I don't like milk as much in my coffee, and so the espresso is the caffeine, and then just more water.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. Like I said before, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a review. That is it for this episode. We will see you next week in episode 6.
That's the pod. Trying out something new.
I'm including all of the I'm including all of these after scene things in the YouTube video, so people watching get to enjoy that. All right, peace, guys.